Well, according to the Health and Human Services, the HHS, about 4 children were reunited yesterday, and about 34 will be reunited by the end of today, which is the deadline, July 10th. That is not the total number, and the judge said it just wasn't good enough. Now, there are varying numbers on exactly how many children this category is, the under 5s. There are numbers that are as low as 35, 50, and as high as 100. Now, there was an immigration lawyer who went in and listened to what the judge had to say about the deadline today. This is what he had to say. Take a listen.
If they're not reunited today, he wants in a status report by 3 p.m. Thursday Pacific time to hear who was reunited, and if they weren't reunited, why they weren't, and he wants us, the plaintiffs, to tell him what relief we're seeking if the government misses these deadlines.
Now, the government has said the types of reasons for these delays are, for instance, the fact that some of the parents have been deported or they didn't pass criminal checks. Others say that it's been very difficult to track exactly where some of these parents and children have gone. And also, finally, that there are DNA tests that have to be carried out to prove that these are actually the parents or the relationships. So those are the reasons that the government says the process has been delayed. But the judge says it's not good enough. Human rights groups and analysts say, look, the legal pressure and the media campaign has to keep the pressure on, because that's the only way to make sure the government actually complies with this. Now, this is not the only deadline. There's another deadline coming up in 2 weeks in which the judge has asked that all the children be reunited, and that's about 2,000 more children, about 2,000 to 2,300 more children. All these children who were separated from their families as a result of the Trump zero-tolerance policy that was imposed a couple of months ago.
And we understand that there's been another challenge this week to Trump's immigration policy. What are you hearing?
That's right. So the government actually had asked for an amendment, something called the 1997 Flores Agreement, which basically said migrant children had to be released to a licensed care center after 20 days. And what the government had asked another judge is to extend that 20-day period. And the argument was that, look, if we have a longer period of time, then we don't have to separate parents and their children. Now, a judge rejected that and said, look, this is just a cynical attempt to shift immigration policy. We have to find other ways of keeping the families together. Now, the options are that there's another option that previous governments have done. It's called catch and release, in which parents and children are kept together. Parents sometimes have to wear ankle bracelets. They're let go while the procedures and proceedings are going on. The Trump administration has tried not to do that, and that is the problem, because they're trying to keep all these people in detention centers. And from estimates that we hear, there are only about 3,000 beds across the country, spaces for people, and there's going to be thousands and thousands of more people coming through the borders. So they need to find another option, and human rights groups say that catch and release option is actually a viable option.
All right.